You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. I am back with Paul and Anna. How are you guys doing today?
I'm absolutely marvelous, enjoying the end of the summer. How about you?
Oh, is it the end of the summer already?
Oh, damn it. Did I just break the news to some people? I'm sorry.
Yeah. And you can't take that kind of thing back.
Send all hate mail to the generic email address. Not to me personally, please.
I mean, you technically can take it back and we'll just edit it out, but...
No, I am leaving it in there so that everyone is aware of the shame that Anna has brought upon our house.
To all the not kids listening to have their going back to school. That's not happening anyway, be ruined. But anyway, listen, I'm doing good, and I want to start this off with a off-topic short rant because I had a realization throughout the last few days, literally having trouble sleeping again, that the Secret of Monkey Island suffers the same kind of fate as Raiders of the Lost Ark, in that it ultimately is pointless, and your crusades as Guybrush mean nothing towards the greater plot.
But you do get to play the game, which is worthwhile, right?
Yeah, and it is a great game, and I love the movie, so this isn't a shit on it, but here, let me spill it out real quick. So check this out. Guybrush has to complete 3 trials, right? Mm-hmm. You got to get the Treasure of Melee Island, which is a tourist attraction. You got to defeat the Swordmaster, who just kind of like fights until she's bored. And then you've got to steal the idol, which is referred to as like a fancy doorstop in the game. So nobody actually wants any of these items. They're just things that are hard to get. So there's that, right? And then next, Guybrush's entire quest it's equally pointless. Like, he arrives on Monkey Island from Melee just in time for Elaine to be taken right back to Melee. Like, as soon as he gets there, she basically heads back to Melee. So he could have just sat on the bloody scum bar and just waited there, and the same thing would have happened. She would have arrived back. And then, I mean, he does defeat LeChuck, but only after ruining Elaine's better plan to do the same thing. Like, she was already about to get herself out of the situation with a much better plan. He ruined that plan and so had to fix it. So
I don't know. The way you described it right there sounds fantastic. Like, I love it. Like, that's amazing when you put it like that. I think that's better than being like a conventional hero does journey thing.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, making the point that he is kind of pointless to the story is one thing, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it, just like I love Raiders. I think last week I got kind of angry about the Raiders thing. I'm like, that's a bunch of toss. You can fuck off with that because it's the journey, not the adventure. I love that movie. Most of my life has no impact on the world's greater plot. So why do my heroes have to be any different? And the final one that we can get on to the actual episode is this is obnoxiously technical. I'll give it that. But upon completing the 3rd trial, the kidnapping sequence starts. So when you go back to the scum bar at that point, the pirates who gave you these trials are gone. And these are the same pirates that said you had to bring them proof of completing the 3 trials to become a pirate. So you never actually become a pirate. You never tell them that you never give them proof that you completed the trials at all.
Wow. Slight oversight.
So anyway, that's my 2 a.m. rant. Had to get out of my system.
Well, to counter your rant, which had a negative tone, but actually wasn't that negative. To counter that, I will see it and raise you a positive note I have about Gold Rush, in which I have kind of determined the one thing that I would change about Gold Rush that would have made me like it is I wish that the entire game were a different, better game.
Wow.
Brutal. What a start.
But at least it wasn't you who actually got me thinking about that. This premise comes to us courtesy of Josh Orion Koss, who wrote in suggesting that we do an episode about games that are so great, but they just need one little change to make them perfect. And what would it be? What are our games that we only need to change one thing in order for it to be, like, so much more awesome?
You know, the worst part is that I know you really well, but I still let myself be vulnerable in that moment for you to only say, be a different game. I mean, it's already the 96th greatest adventure game of all time. Imagine what number it would be if it was a totally different game.
It could be any of the 95 before it.
I do hear your heart break a little bit every time Rick makes fun of it anyways. Tonight, if you guys haven't guessed it yet, well, we're just going to keep going. Figure it out.
Why don't you start, Anna, since, you know, you're the one who wants to actually do our job?
Well, you know, going back in time, I used to like a lot of the old games, the Sim City games and Warcraft 1. I know they're not the same, but the thing that is the same is they all have these little menus with square buttons. And when you hover your mouse over them, they don't tell you any information whatsoever, which is kind of inconvenient when you're going back to a game that you haven't played since you were a teenager. And you just want to remember what that line with the little X and the little purple dot means. Mm-hmm. Without going through the book, what you probably don't have anyways. So
well, you know, it's funny because I think the reason why they kind of have like the little pop-up labels when you hover the cursor over a button is probably necessitated by the fact that you used to have to know what the buttons did by reading the actual game manuals, which don't really come with games anymore. Or at least, you know, there will be like a PDF that nobody ever looks at. Yeah. So they really got to just assume that someone's just going to install the game and dive right in. Yeah. As opposed to like, here's a book. You know, you mentioned sim games. Like the sim games, like Sim Earth and Sim Life and probably a bunch of other sim games I haven't played. They had textbooks. Like you could teach university undergrad classes on these games.
It's true, actually. You know, okay, even take a game like Afterlife. It came in my LucasArts collection and it had absolutely no instructions whatsoever. And it is like the most complicated sim game ever. Yeah. You can't hover over a button. It's not going to tell you what's going on. And you're trying to run heaven and hell at the same time. So it's like a sim game times 2. And you can't even win the game, right? You can only like not lose. Right. So yeah, you bring up a good point. Actual books way back. Yeah, I miss those, but I'm not ready for them anymore.
It comes with Playing God, the manual.
Nobody's read it so far, I guarantee you.
No, but that's a really good one because I plugged in SimCity for a little dose of nostalgia and I walked away like 4 minutes later when I realized that it didn't tell me what the buttons were when I hovered over them. I'm like, you know, I'm not bloody gonna do research about this. Like I'm not diving into textbooks to play this game right now.
Or even Sim Ant, right? I want to play Sim Ant. It's great. I just want to fight the spiders for a little while. Can you give me a quick rundown? Oh, you give me a tutorial. And it's still hard because you don't know what anything means. Yeah,
because they got to be memorized. I mean, it's not just glance at it and you just know these things. But yeah, those manuals, they were thick. You could use a bookmark in practical application with these old manuals. That says something.
Exactly. Sticky note tabs.
Yeah.
Actually, I did that in my Stardew Valley guidebook. I put little sticky note tabs in each little section so I could refer to it quickly. So books can still be fun.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's my choice. Add in some help on the menus. I bet you there's a patch. Somebody write in and tell me that there's patches for those old games where I can just pop that feature in. It would be very satisfying.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, I'd be back
for
in.
For sure.
All right, Rick, what you got, mate?
Oh, are we jumping right to me? Okay. You beat me to the punch. I was just about to say, oh, Paul, what do you have next?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go to give you some time to think about your first choice. And because normally I like these things to sort of flow into one another rather than just being point form, but I really don't have anything that matches up with that. So I guess I'll go with... I'm going to group a couple of these together because they all have the same thing that I want a little bit different. Quest for Glory 4 really could kind of say all the Quest for Glories, but Quest for Glory 4 in particular, I could live with the rest. Quest for Glory 4 is an almost perfect game as far as Sierra Adventures go. We love how much they're flawed. And that and Ultima 7... They both just need a better combat mechanic. Like, I can tolerate Ultima 7. In fact, in some ways, I kind of like it just because, like, I don't really care much about the combat in RPGs anyways. Like, they need to be there. They're a very integral part, and they absolutely are inseparable from the RPG genre, but they're not the fun part of the games for me. So, I kind of like that Ultima 7. I could just turn combat on, wait for a while until it's over, and then go back to the game. But it could use a little bit more control, and Quest for Glory 4 could just, like, not exist in its form at all, and just be, like, you know, one of the other games where you can properly stand your ground and swing your weapon, as opposed to that fighting game kind of style.
Pretty sure the first time I played that game, I turned on the auto fight after not too long. And just, up the aggressiveness, up the magic, turn down the defense, and let the thing go, because I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, funny. People have been mentioning that to me lately. They're saying, like, oh, why don't you just turn the auto combat on? And, you know, it just occurred to me now that that's exactly what I said was made Ultima 7's combat tolerable. But I don't think it would for Quest for Glory 4 for me, just because I would still have to sit through it. I'd have to wait for him to jump around, and I think just the presentation of the combat really gets me more than anything else, where you, like, gotta jump around like it's Street Fighter or something.
Mm-hmm. Do you like the combat in Quest for Glory 5 then? Because I think Lori and Corey mentioned they were particularly proud of how that worked out.
I like it better.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had a lot of really cool ideas that they put into it. I think I only ever played it as a wizard and a thief, and they both have it pretty good, because thief can, like, throw daggers. That's pretty badass, and the wizard has the frostbite spell, which just is the game-breaking spell.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that regard, cool. That's awesome. I think the last time I played Quest for Glory 4, I played as the wizard just because I could just cast spells and spam that, you know, playing like Ryu in Street Fighter 2, where you just spam fireballs until the enemy dies. That's basically how I played Quest for Glory 4. But playing as a fighter, like a melee class, yeah. You
just made a good Street Fighter sound effect too. You know, the adventure games or games, you know, Quest for Glory 4 is also RPG, but based on an adventure engine, let's say, or from an adventure company, whatever, you get it. They take a lot of flack, usually, I think, justified for having poor mechanics, but one game that gets the same treatment is that, you know, the mechanics of the fighting should be better is Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. And I gotta disagree with that, and I want to get you lot's thoughts, because yes, it's the mechanics are not complex, but they're not bad. Like it's not fancy. There's not a whole lot you can do, but I mean, like, when you go to punch high or punch low, it reacts, and when you block, you block. I mean, it's I don't know why they're called, like, horrible mechanics. They're not horrible. They're just really, really simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never had any issue with it. They're not, like, again, they're not the fun part of the game, but it's in there, but I never really had any problems with it. I've only heard recently people actually complaining about it, and that's sort of like, oh, I guess that's a thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was my, like, when I heard people, and it became a bandwagon where the next comment and the next comment and the next comment was all just concurring. I'm like, have you gone back and played it? Like, it's really not that bad though. Like, you know, I think the thought of fighting in an adventure style game, people just assume, oh, it's got to be shit, but it's really not. Give it a go. It's not that bad.
I remember being surprised at how much I liked it. Plus, I mean, there's always the outright. You don't want to get the puzzle points. You can just knock them out and be like, forget it. I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Also, I mean, like, it's almost in character for it to be kind of cumbersome, because, you know, Indiana Jones isn't really a brilliant fighter to begin with.
Right. Yes, that's a great point. It is.
He kind of gets punched as much as he punches the other guy. Like, he's just, like, probably a little bit more resilient.
Yes, no, it's a great point. That's so much of the reason why I find his character so charming, because he's a scrapper. You know, he's not this dominant force, but he's plucky.
Yeah, you're like, crotch shot. Okay.
So that was just the defense. That wasn't you actually wanting to change anything about that game.
Correct. Yes, that's for another conversation. But I will say that's maybe my pick for a perfect game.
let's all talk about things that we would not change about games as they currently are.
You could tell from right out of the gate I was going to be mad at this episode.
It's hard to stay on topic for a whole hour. I understand.
I would change in Indiana Jones and the Lost Crusade. I would get rid of the bloody ladder maze situation in the Zeppelin. I don't like it.
Right. I think mazes always suck, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, exactly. They always come across as time fillers. Like, oh, shite, this game needs to be 30 minutes longer than it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't like that. And I know this is pick one thing, and that is my one thing, but it came down to either that or it's like when you're in an argument, you're like, you're right, but like as soon as you say but, you're an asshole. I know we said one thing, but here comes the second thing. The navigation in Lost Crusade is like, the way you get through the castle is like this dungeon crawl thing where like not all sectors are lit up. You can only see like a few feet in front of you. Like one of those two things got to go because that's what pops in my mind when I'm like, hey, I should replay Lost Crusade. And then I'll think of one of them and be like, no, I'm good on that.
Well, I mean, I could say, yeah, on maps that I'd prefer not to have an overhead map on Quest for Glory 3 or 5, but I don't think everybody would agree with me, Rick.
I disagree.
Really? I'm so shocked.
Let me put it like this, though, because if you're going to say no overhead maps, how else would you do it?
I guess I would do it more like the maps in number 1 and number 2.
Like screen by screen?
Screen by screen?
Across the entire savannah.
Well, yeah. I got so stressed out by the time constraint. I always felt like I had to beeline everywhere and I couldn't go around and do any searching. That's all. And
how exactly are you going to find everywhere screen by screen?
Well, the time limit would be different. It wouldn't be going like 1 second for like every 1 hour, really, over the course of the day. It's like, I've taken 3 steps. It's been like almost the full day. I better camp now.
So you're in a flat, grassy plain and you can see for like miles. It's like the Canadian prairies.
It's like a desert in number 2. You're on a sandy, yellow desert. You can see for miles. You didn't have to
be anywhere. There was like 2 places you didn't have
to be anywhere. You had to go all the way to the other kingdom or the other castle later.
By a caravan that takes you there.
Right. And it was a long ass journey.
Yeah. But I mean, generally, there's like 3 places in the desert you actually have to walk to.
Well, this wasn't even one of the ones on my list, damn it. I just brought it up because maps.
in a game like Quest for Glory 3, where you have to constantly be going from place to place, and there's many points of interest, or not many, but several points of interest across like 3 entire screens worth of overhead map. How are you going to do that screen by screen?
With an underhead map.
What he said. I just, when I first got the game, that was the one thing I didn't like. And then I was happy when they brought screen to screen back in number 4. And I was just disappointed to see it again in number 5. I'm sorry.
You are incorrect. I get what you mean by you don't like overhead maps. I don't think, given the world that the land rather, that they wanted to create for the games, there was really any better way to have done it.
Well, maybe they could have slowed the time down a little bit. Then
it's not even about time. I mean, like actually, like going from place to place, screen by screen.
Well, for me, it's about time, though.
Then just say slow down the time, not get rid of the overhead map.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you got rid of the time, I'd keep the overhead map. It's not the actual map that's my issue. It was the stress over the time.
Okay, so, all right. We'll
but on to my selection for my next choice. Talking about Sierra games, I think if I were to replay Mask of Eternity and I wanted one thing to be different in this game, yes, only one, and I'm going with I would love it if if Connor of Daventry could have a personality, because in every other game the characters always have a little bit of a personality, especially in the later games, and in this one he's not really funny or really sarcastic or like anything. He's just kind of like, it is upon the table and I shall take it.
I like that one. It's It's just impressively almost passive aggressive. Like, what's that thing called? Oh yeah, personality. It'd be lovely if you could find one.
And then I'd be much more into playing the game again. Yes, it'd be a little bit more fun when you have to get that camera angle just bloody right to see what's coming in from above your head. You know, where you're messing around with one of those details.
I don't feel like Connor is the right name choice either. Nothing against the name; it's a lovely name. It just doesn't strike me as like that'd be like picturing like the Knights of the Round Table and like a mighty like medieval sword fighter, and his name's Tyler. Like I got family named Tyler. I love him. It's a good name. If you're Connor, and I'm talking to Connor who's listening right now, your name's fine, mate. I'm just saying, if you were to pick up swordsmanship or knightery, you might not fit in.
It's even worse name for a pretty decent name is if you're like a hero of many lands and like adopted into royalty and they call you Devon.
Oh, poor Devon. Good call. I wonder why they went with that name.
Connor or Devon?
Devon.
Or both?
Devon. Well,
Devon.
Both, really.
Yeah. I don't know. Mm-hmm. We'll have to have the Coles back on again and ask them. But
that's a good idea.
In regards to Connor not having personality or character and having a not great name, I kind of always forget that he exists. So I think you both have a point.
He's forgettable, right? See?
Yeah.
And again, not literally you, Connor,
forgettable. Literally forgettable in that I do literally always forget that he exists. Like you say, I don't even know who he is. Like, where is he in the whole thing? You say, oh, who are the characters in King's Quest? Like, well, there's Graham, there's Rosella, there's Alexander, and that is it. And there's side characters, but those are the playable ones. Those are the main characters of the series.
Mm-hmm.
There's Connor over there in the corner having zero impact on my life.
Yeah, because it looks like Connor was a neighbor from a nearby village, but he happened to have been a peasant and a knight at the same time. So I really still don't know how he fits into the story.
How are you a peasant and a knight at the same time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, unless Wikipedia is leading me wrong.
We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer of the week.
But apparently he's got a destiny, so that's sort of how he fits in. So this is a thing he's supposed to do.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe he got screwed over by only having one game because everyone else has at least two.
A peasant.
Maybe he shouldn't have had any game, and maybe this could have been with more Graham or something. I mean, there's something you could change.
I feel like a peasant who's also a knight is like saying I'm an undercover cop in uniform.
Not even, because that's at least kind of equal. That's like I am the master and the slave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Connor, a lowly tanner, painter, and knight of Daventry. Damn, this guy's talented.
That time management, though, hey?
Well, the personality went to his bloody bio instead of...
That's like a total, that's like Mary Sue writing for fan fiction. It's like the person who wrote its name is Connor. It's like, so Connor of Daventry is like a lowly peasant and laborer, but also the knight of the realm.
Sounds like an 8th grade book report. Her little sister's like, no, you got to put in that he's also a knight too. Okay, I just want to get more words in this assignment.
So it sounded more and more like a jokey Tinder profile or something.
That was assembled by Mad Libs. Shoemaker, knight, maybe one more occupation. Tanner, yes, Tanner.
But hey, anybody that can banish a bad guy into the abyss has to be quite something, so.
Ooh, that was a tongue twister, mate. Good one. Banish a bad guy into the abyss.
Got it on my first try.
Yes, yes, you did.
These are facts.
Just a quick one just to throw in here, because we're all getting all medieval. A lot of dungeon crawlers I really wanted to get into, but never really got into at the time, like Gold Box games, Might and Magic, even a lot of the wizardries. A lot of the classic era ones, they're all like first-person dungeon crawlers are like screen by screen. I can't play those. And I played Legend of Grimrock, and I played that one so much easier. I was trying to figure out why I can play that one so much easier, but these other games that I really want to get into, they're of the era that I absolutely love. And I just, really tried hard to get into them, and I just couldn't. I kind of realized, you know what? The only thing they needed to do, which they didn't have the tech for at the time probably, is to have smooth scrolling between screens. As long as I could connect, like, I'm facing this way, and then I turn to face this way, as opposed to I'm facing this way, and now I'm facing this way, it makes all of the difference to me. So I just can't, my brain cannot connect a series of still photos together. But if you link them together with smooth scrolling, then I'm fine.
So what about a game like Elder Scrolls Arena then?
It's been a very long time since I tried Arena. So I can't speak very much of it except to say that at the time that I tried it, which is probably like a good 10 years ago now, didn't really get into it. I couldn't even tell you anything about it at this point, except that I played it for like 10 minutes and just gave up. So I don't know. That I'd have to try it again just because what is it, like screen by screen, or is it like smooth scrolling, or
it's smooth scrolling, and outside there's some screen by screen on the inside with the dungeons, but it's more smooth scrolling. You don't have to pop room to room so much, so
okay,
it's kind of right in the middle of it. What year did this come out? So 94, right? So they were just kind of slipping from one direction right into the other more smooth scrolling stuff.
I should also point out here, just for clarification's sake, when I say smooth scrolling, I don't even actually mean like Ultima Underworld style. I mean like just as long as the static screens move from one to the other. That's all I need. It'd be cool if you did Ultima Underworld style. That'd be cool. But all I really need is like that Grimrock style screen by screen. They're static screens, but it just, you can visually connect them as you move.
So it doesn't have to be fluid, but it has to be like differential. Are
you even listening to me, Paul?
Look, this isn't about adventure games. I'm trying my hardest, all right? I just want to fit in. I knew that was a shallow comment I was making. I'm like, I hope they buy this.
Did sound intelligent on the surface.
Maybe you think so.
Saw right through me, damn it.
All right, so tell you what, Paul, I know you're kind of out of your element when it comes to games. So I'm gonna just here's one that you will relate to, and just to speed things up, because I think we all have a lot of picks, so we just got to make sure we get through this in a timely manner. I really want Police Quests 1 and 3 to have better driving systems, because I know that Police Quest 1 VGA is technically better than Police Quest 3, and I know that people hate Police Quest 1 EGA's driving, which I actually don't mind.
I love it.
Yeah, but it could definitely use a little bit of improvement. I just, I can't think at the top of my head exactly what to do about fixing it. I know Police Quest 3 is just like complete dumpster fire. But they just need something a little bit better. I think at one point I kind of said, it was a little bit facetious, but I did kind of throw in that original like Grand Theft Auto 1 driving should be what Police Quest is, but that's probably a bad idea, because the second you like tip the curb, you'll die, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's true. I still like that idea though, just for a loose mechanic. That would be kind of cool. The original GTA driving in 3, and 1's really hard. Like for the AGI one, speaking of it, it's like I don't know how I feel about it. I think I hate it, but I also feel like it's kind of like a welcome change of pace for that game, like a nice little, I don't know, a moment to get your heart rate up kind of thing in that game. But if you think about it, you're literally you have to put 1 pixel into the space of 2 pixels. That's driving that game, right? Like each lane is 2 pixels wide, and your car is 1 single pixel, and you got to make these right angle turns.
But it gave you the freedom back then. You could
Yes.
decide to leave your lights on and run the red lights, or not behave,
Yes.
or behave. And it was the first time I personally, of course, had ever played a game where it was like, you don't have to entirely follow the rules. This is like an arcade sequence, and once you have it memorized and down pat and you know where everything is, it was a lot of fun and easy to navigate. But saying that, as a grown up now, I'm like, yeah, I agree with you, Rick.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point, Anna, because it's.
Anna, I thought you don't like overhead maps.
Yeah. Time. I don't like time. We clarified that, Rick. We're good. Moving on. What were you going to say, Paul?
Back to that bit where you were like, I agree with you. I like the I like your point, because I referred to Police Quest 1, the AGI one, as my first like experience as like an open world kind of game, and I think that's kind of almost exactly why. Even having the freeway that you could get onto just gave you that bit of thrill of feeling like an adult or whatever.
Yeah.
Which even to this day I struggle to feel like.
Maybe if like the driving sections in Police Quest were done like stunts. That driving game where you just like first person just drive, like a test drive or a Need for Speed or something like that. Just like, put you behind the wheel. Here's the steering wheel and the pedals, and just go drive to where you need to go.
Well, you imagine Police Quest 2 could be like that, right? When you're driving, they're like, I just feel like, hand me the wheel. I'll take this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually kind of odd. It's bizarre they didn't make Keith the one who was driving in that game, just because you don't actually control the car at all. Might as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's true.
But he's not really a multitasker, is he?
He's not really a do anything kind of guy.
He smokes.
Like anything.
He smokes. He complains.
He's really good at smoking. He just can't multitask. So as long as smoking is the thing he's doing, he can't do anything else.
Well, he can smoke and walk over there.
Let's see. I've got a Police Quest 3 one myself, and that is the one thing I would change is to get rid of the VGA version and make it EGA only.
If they were to be revamped into like Police Quest 2 SCI EGA parser kind of style, I don't know really how to describe it. You know what I mean? Because I know that VGA version has an EGA version, but I don't like that one as much as you do. I think it looks like a VGA game that has just been awkwardly stuffed into EGA limitations.
Like a demake, yeah.
Well, I got to admit, you handled that like a real adult. That was more of my jokey take a jab at Rick and see if he gets angry about it answer, because it's not my real answer is the problem. And now I find myself waist deep in discussing it with you cordially like adults. So Exhibit A, I disagree, respectfully, of course. And and 2, it's the colors. The palette reminds me of the first two. Those EGA magenta. There we go. And cayenne or cyan. I don't know. I've only ever read that word. I think it's cyan.
Cyan. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, they
You're
fit. It just because 3's already got this divorce from the first two to me. Its entire personality. So I feel like putting it back in that palette kind of brings it back to the first two.
I don't think that would be enough for me. I think it just really needed to have started a new character and story.
Yeah,
and that brings me to what I was supposed to have said, which is Police Quest 3 should not be Sonny Bonds. It should be completely started over, or conversely, don't demote him. But I think that would affect the plot too much. So I would just say don't make it Sonny Bonds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, I gave my one thing I want to change, just change the driving, and the rest I'll just kind of like, okay, fine, I'll go with this. But I do agree that, it's kind of like the same Laura Bow conundrum, where it's just sort of like, yeah, I kind of want more games of you, but how much can we really believe is going to happen to you in one lifetime?
Right. Yeah, and especially outside of a fantasy setting, like King Graham or Roger Wilco, they're kind of exempt of that because you're already in sci-fi or fantasy land. But yeah, when it's based in real life, you're absolutely right. It has its limitations there.
Yeah, so, or if it's like really cartoony, like Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah,
that obviously, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they should have they should have made it not Sunny and had made it Connor. It should have been just your average Connor.
Should have been there.
Yeah.
How about you, Anna? What do you what's your next pick? Do you have a Police Quest thing? Are you going to pick on Police Quest 3 as well?
Sure. I'll pick on Police Quest 4. How about
Don't exist.
Yeah. How about we don't call it Police Quest 4? Let's just change the title of it entirely. We'll just call it like Open Season. It's a brand new game. It's a police procedural. What?
It's not Police Quest 4.
No, I know. It's Police Quest Open Season. But if you go into Google and type Police Quest 4, you're going to guarantee that's what's going to come up.
Though. Yeah, but people just call it that. It really should just be Police Quest Open Season.
If we're going to drop the Police Quest moniker, it should be dropped from the SWAT franchise, because by then they're just way far gone. Like at least Open Season's still that style of adventure game. But for Open Season, I would say to get rid of bloody Daryl Gates and have it had been a Jim Walls game in a fantasy.
That would have been
scenario.
nice.
Yeah,
because I couldn't really identify with John as the main guy. Really, I didn't feel a connection with what storyline there was, and the lines. Anyways, I'm not going to go on critiquing the game right now. That's fine. Carry on. But my actual choice, I wasn't going to go for Police Quest. My actual choice is I would prefer it if when you typed and you brought up the text box, it would pause the game instead of just being a parser at the bottom for the early King's Quest and Space Quest games, the first Leisure Suit Larry. I would like it to pause the game because, as I mentioned, I have a timing thing. So I always wanted to have my words prepped, and I'd hit F3. So it would just stress me out a lot less if it would pause every time I typed in those games. And if that had been the case, I believe I would have played the early King's Quest games earlier and Space Quest 1 and 2 earlier, because the only reason I didn't as a kid was because the text box didn't pause the game.
It's really weird because I swear that when I first played Police Quest decades ago on my old amber monochrome screen, I swear that when you type something, it would actually pop up that little text box.
Wonder if it was a version.
It must be, but I do specifically remember. I think it wasn't that way for Space Quest 1, and it kind of struck me as odd because Police Quest 1, I definitely...
Oh no, Police Quest 1 did pause when you typed. I think Police Quest 1, didn't it?
No, it doesn't. No. I've played that many times since.
Yeah, you are correct.
Anytime I've played Police Quest 1 in color, it has always had the parser at the bottom.
Yes, parser at the bottom. Edit that out.
But when I played... We can't now. You can't just... Yeah, just...
It's okay. Carry on.
You're allowed to make a mistake once in a while.
Oh, okay.
But I swear when I played the original Police Quest back on my amber monochrome computer, that it had a parser box that just functioned exactly like the SCI parser box. Somebody's got to know about this. Somebody has to know.
Write it into us. I need to see that too, because if it is indeed a version, I'll play it. And if somebody knows of a patch or an update that makes that happen for the older games, Chad Armstrong, somebody, let me know.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm really split down the middle with this one, because I've recently played Space Quest 1 AGI and King's Quest 4, so the SCI. So in other words, I just played two games that had the different angles. The AGI games not pausing for you, and the SCI games pausing for you. And you're absolutely right. It when it pauses for you, it removes so much stress. Like for example, in Space Quest with the ORAT, you've got a really short amount of time before he comes out of towards you from inside of his cave and gets you. And you got to type it really fast with no spelling errors and press enter. But there's also this aspect where, with those older AGI games, it takes a while to get from A to B. So, I like the fact that when I'm walking across the screen to open a door, I can press open, I can type while he's walking. You know what I mean? Just to multitask, to feel like I'm stimulating myself while I'm waiting for him to bloody get to the point. So there's a plus and minus to both. But I think ultimately I'd probably prefer it to pause the screen because of that stress factor.
So this is just sort of a... kind of a minor entry onto this list. I'll try to get through it as fast as I can. It can apply to a lot of different games, but particularly I'm applying it to Okami because I've mentioned before that Okami is probably one of my favorite games I've never actually finished. And I played to a good part. I felt the closure. I felt the completion. It turns out that there's also a lot more game after that point. So I really wanted to go back and play it because it is great. And I feel like it's a game that I should play all the way to the end. And it's been released on several consoles since, and it has been released on the Xbox 3. It's not 360. It has been released on the Xbox One, which I do have in HD. So I'm like, yeah, I'm on it. And I bought it. I loaded it up, and I just realized on this playthrough that the cutscenes are unskippable and not very fast forwardable. So and it killed my momentum, and I have not made any further. I actually did not play very much of it at all, just because it's sort of like, yeah, I know. Just let me skip through this. I just want to, power through the first half of the game so I can play the second half. And yeah, it's one of those things where, as much as you press the buttons, as much as you push start or A or whatever, they won't speed up the dialogue for you. They print the dialogue really slow across the screen. So they really control the pace of the cutscenes to extend the amount of time that you are forced to sit and watch them. It's like, that's not too big a deal the first time you play it, because you do really want to sit through these things. But the second time through, it's like, yeah, I really don't have time for this. I'm going to go play something else now. So unskippable cutscenes, generally not great ideas for games, but I'm picking on Okami because that's the one that I really wanted to play all the way to the end, and I just can't anymore.
Aw. It's a pretty game. I'm just looking at some pictures now.
It's beautiful.
Played it,
I love it.
Wow, it's so gorgeous.
Okami is similar to the non-adventure game Doom, I must assume.
So, what's your next pick, Paul?
Wolfenstein? Prince of Persia.
What would you change about Wolfenstein?
God, nothing. His name should have been the Bear Jew. That would have made it just a little more even enjoyable for myself. All right? Is it my turn?
You do go after me, so yes.
Oh yeah. So for my next one, like Anna had alluded to timing, and timing's a big stressor, a big issue for me in any game that it's in, any adventure game that it's in. So yeah, any game that it's in, as far as I know. I don't like it kind of at all. It just really stresses me out. I could see it being, I can let it slide in the Laura Bow games. Well, especially Colonel's Bequest, in that point it's actually necessary, but Dagger of Amon-Ra, like towards the ending you have a time sequence with death, and I'll let it, that's the only time I'd probably let it slide, even though in that case with Dagger it really stresses me out. But the one I'm going to bring up is in King's Quest 3. I don't like it. It takes away any fun that I might have potentially had, away from casting endless spells. But I can also, devil's advocate, kind of see how it's crucial to the plot and not having a lot of time to gather all your items and come back and hide them. Like, I see the appeal for those who aren't, like hyper stressed out by it. So instead of saying, I know I'm being super verbose, I'm sorry. Instead of saying changing the timing for King's Quest 3, I'm going to say they should have had Mananananan say, nailed it, say, I'm going to lay down for an hour. Or, I'm going to take a nap for the next 25 minutes. Like, just let us bloody know how much time I've got. Like, it's one thing to stress about the time, but it was a whole nother for me to not even have any idea how much time I had.
Right.
Because either the time was stressful or it was traumatizing, depending on the age you played the game at.
Yeah, exactly. At 36, it was bloody traumatizing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Paul.
Can't imagine how this is going to affect my life going forward. But yeah, I mean, I guess it goes back to, this was 1986. People had nothing going on, like we bang on about in these shows. You had plenty of time to figure out that it was 25 minutes, but I don't like it.
Well, that's
I
fair.
don't like it. Not one damn bit.
Not one bit.
So that's the only thing that you would change about King's Quest 3.
No,
Everything
no.
else is fine.
Yeah.
That's kind of the spirit of this episode, is that you only want to change one thing. So you're basically vouching for the rest of everything in King's Quest 3.
Oh, I never thought about that. That in picking one, I would be letting everything off the hook.
Yes, that's what we're doing here, Paul.
Well, maybe King's Quest 3 should have been Leisure Suit Larry 4. You know, just kind of letting.
Instead of Codename Iceman, I could buy that.
Yeah.
Codename Iceman should have been Police Quest Iceman.
So I guess that's it. I think we've all had our turns. And
Wait, hang on. Do you have any more?
I was just about to ask, does anybody have any more? No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get one more.
Yeah.
And again, this is very brief because I can't even talk very much about the game. I played like 30 minutes of it, and about like 10 minutes of that was dying on a stupid knife puzzle. And I think that Manhunter needs mouse support and nothing else. Everything else is fine as far as I've ever played. But I love the graphics. It's something that the Murrays have done where I legit really love the graphics. It's just beautiful, in exactly the right ways. And, I really want to play it. The story already has me gripped from the get-go, but I just can't do it without the mouse support. I was so stunned and let down that it predated mouse support of any sort. I was like, no, come on. If I could just have that, then I would totally play through this game so bad.
I guess they were just carrying on from their Ancient Art of War series.
Oh god, those two.
They didn't have any mouse support, and you go back to play it, and it's like, oh, right, that. I forgot.
I'm going to throw those into the pile too, because those definitely would be great. I'd still be playing to this day. I still do kind of, but I would definitely play more if they had mouse support. So yeah, everything but the Murrays, just mouse. And maybe if Gold Rush didn't exist.
Funny. Dick. And I'll throw in, how about Myst? Add some deaths in there. Make it a game. Give me a reason to click on something else because it prevents me from dying. Let's get some progression going here.
Well, I guess that's about all the time we have for today. So come find us on Facebook. We're a group and we're a page. You can find us on Twitter at the CG Guild. If you'd like to support the show, we're on Patreon. Come find us at the Classic Gamers Guild. Thank you all very much to all of our supporters who currently support the show, especially to those of you in the extra special thanks tier, namely that is Jay Holmes and Mark Fillion. We really appreciate your contributions. You could also write to us by email if you still email and do that sort of thing. We're at mail@classicgamersguild.com. Any final words? No? All right. I hope Paul is not doing a murder. Oh, you are there. Okay. Thanks for not responding to the call to action, Paul.
Well, it's like, what if I say that, but then Anna had things to say, and it would have just,
No, that one's usually yours.
Bloody, just don't do a bloody murder. All right.
to say is this: is like